Hello friends, my name is Dixita, and today I give you some information from the Power of Your Subconscious Mind book. And this chapter points is how to choose happiness. Begin now to choose happiness. This is how you do it. When you open your eyes in the morning, say to yourself, Divine Order takes charge of my life today and every day. All things work together for good for me today. This is a new and wonderful day for me. There will never be another day like this one. I am divinely guided all day long, and whatever I do will prosper. Divine love surrounds me, enfolds me, and enwraps me, and I go forth in peace. Whenever my attention wanders away from that which is good and constructive, I will immediately bring it back to the contemplation of that which is lovely and of good report. I am a spiritual and mental magnet attracted to myself all things, which bless and prosper me. I am going to be a wonderful success in all my understanding taking today. I am definitely going to be happy all day long. Start each day in this manner. Then you will be choosing happiness and you will be a radiant, joyous person. Next point is he made it a habit to be happy. A number of years ago, I stayed for about a week in a farmer's house in Connemara on the west coast of Ireland. He seemed to be always singing and whistling and was full of humor. I asked him the secret of his happiness, and his reply was, It is a habit of mine to be happy. Every morning when I awaken and every night before I go to sleep, I bless my family, the crops, the castle, and I thank God for the wonderful harvest. This farmer had made a practice of this for over 40 years. As you know, thoughts repeated regularly and systematically sink into the subconscious mind and become habitual. He discovered that happiness is a habit. Next point is you must desire to be happy. There is one very important point about being happy. You must sincerely desire to be happy. There are people who have been depressed, dejected, and unhappy so long that was there suddenly made happy by some wonderful, good, joyous news. They would actually be like the woman who said to me, It is wrong to be so happy. They have been so accustomed to the old mental patterns that they do not feel at home being happy. They long for the former depressed, unhappy state. I knew a woman in England who had rheumatism for many years. She would pat herself on the knee and say, My rheumatism is bad today. I cannot go out. My rheumatism keeps me miserable. This dear elderly lady got a lot of attention from her son, daughter, and the neighbors. She really want her rheumatism. She enjoyed her misery, as he called it. This woman did not really want to be happy. I suggested a curative procedure to her. I wrote down some biblical verses and told her that if she gave attention to these truths, and her mental attitude would undoubtedly change and would result in her faith and confidence in being restored to health. She was not interested. There seems to be a peculiar mental morbid streak in many people, whereby they seem to enjoy being miserable and sad. Next point is why choose unhappiness. Many people choose unhappiness by entertaining these ideas. Today is a black day. Everything is going to go wrong. I am not going to succeed. Everyone is against me. Business is bad and it is going to get worse. I am always late. I never get two breaks. He can, but I can't. If you have this attitude of mind the first thing in the morning, you will attract all this experience to you and you will be very unhappy. Begin to realize that the world you live in is determined largely by what goes on in your mind. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman philosopher and sage, said, "A man's life is what his thoughts make of it." Emerson, America's foremost philosopher, said, "A man is what he thinks all day long." The thoughts you habitually entertain in your mind have the tendency to actualize themselves in physical conditions. Make certain you do not indulge in negative thoughts, defective thoughts, or unkind, depressing thoughts. Recall frequently to your mind that you can experience nothing outside your own mentality. Next point is, if I had $1,000,000, I would be happy. I have visited many men in a mental institution who were millionaires, but they insisted they were penniless and destitute. They were incarcerated because of psychotic, paranoid, and manic depressive tendencies. Wealth in and of itself will not make you happy. On the other hand, it is not a deterrent to happiness. Today, there are many people trying to buy happiness through the purchase of radios, television sets, automobiles, a home in the country, a private yacht, and a swimming pool. But happiness cannot be purchased or procured in that way. The kingdom of happiness is in your thought and feeling. Too many people have the idea that it takes something artificial to produce happiness. Some say, if I were elected mayor, made president of the organization, promoted to general manager of the corporation, I would be happy. The truth is that happiness is a mental and spiritual state. None of these positions mentioned will necessarily bequeath happiness. Your strength, joy, and happiness consist in finding out the law of divine order and right action lodged in your subconscious mind, and by applying this principle in all phases of your life. Next point is, he found happiness to be the harvest of a quiet mind. Lecturing in San Francisco some years ago, I interviewed a man who was very unhappy and dejected over the way his business was going. He was the general manager. His heart was filled with resentment toward the vice president and the president of the organization. He claimed that they opposed him. Because of this internal strife, business was declined. He was receiving no dividends or stock bonuses. This is how he solved his business problem. The first thing in the morning he affirmed quietly as follows: all those working in our corporation are honest, sincere, cooperative, faithful, and full of goodwill to all. They are mental and spiritual links in the chain of this corporation growth, welfare, and prosperities. I radiate love, peace, and goodwill in my thoughts, words, and deeds to my two associates and to all those in the company. The president and the vice president of our company are divinely guided in all their undertakings. The infinite intelligence of my subconscious mind undertaking. The infinite intelligence of my. Today, there are many people trying to buy happiness through the purchase of radios, television sets, automobiles, a home in the country, a private yacht, and a swimming pool. But happiness cannot be purchased or procured in the way The kingdom of happiness is in your thoughts and feeling. Too many people have the idea that it takes something artificial to produce happiness. Some say, if I were elected mayor, made president of the organized prompt to general manager of the corporation, I would be happy. The truth is that happiness is a mental and spiritual state. None of these positions mentioned will necessarily bequeath happiness. Your strength, joy, and happiness consist in finding out the law of divine order and right action lodged in your subconscious mind, and by applying these principles in all phases of your life. Next point is, he found happiness to be the harvest of a quiet mind. Lecturing in San Francisco some years ago, I interviewed a man who was very unhappy and dejected over the way his business was going. He was the general manager. His heart was filled with resentment toward the vice president and the president of the organization. He claimed that they opposed him. Because of this internal strife, business was declined. He was receiving no dividends or stock bonuses. This is how he solved his business problem. The first thing in the morning he affirmed quietly as follows: all those working in our corporation are honest, sincere, cooperative, faithful, and full of goodwill to all. There are mental and spiritual links in the chain of this cooperation, growth, welfare, and prosperity. I radiate love, peace, and goodwill in my thoughts, words, and deeds to my two associates and to all those in the company. The president and the vice president of our company are divinely guided in all their undertaking. The infinite intelligence of my subconscious mind makes all decisions through me. There is only right action in all our business transactions and in our relationship with each other. I send the messengers of peace, love, and goodwill before me to the office. Peace and harmony reside supreme in the minds and hearts of all those in the company, including myself. I now go forth into a new day, full of faith, confidence, and trust. This business executive repeated the above meditation slowly 3 times in the morning, feeling the truth of what he affirmed. When fearful or angry thoughts came into his mind during the day, he would say to himself, peace, harmony, and poise governs my mind at all times. As he continued disciplining his mind in this manner, all the harmful thoughts ceased to come, and peace came into his mind. He repeated the harvest. Subsequently, he wrote me to the effect that at the end of about 2 weeks of reordering his mind, the president and the vice president called him into the office, praised his operations and his new constructive ideas, and remarked how fortunate they were in having him as general manager. He was very happy in discovering that man finds happiness within himself. Next point is, the block or stump is not really there. I read a newspaper article some years ago which told about a horse that had shield when it come to a stump on the road. Subsequently, every time the horse came to that same stump, he shield. The farmer dug the stump out, burned it, and leveled the old road. For 25 years, every time the horse passed the place where the former stump was, he shied. The horse was sighing at the memory of a stump. There is no blocker to your happiness save in your own thoughts, life, and mental imagery. Is fear or worry holding you back? Fear is a thought in your mind. You can dig it up this very moment by supplanting it with faith in success, achievement, and victory over all problems. I knew a man who failed in business. He said to me, I made mistakes. I have learned a lot. I am going back into business and I will be a tremendous success. He faced up to this that stump in his mind. He did not whine or complain, but he stirred up the stump of failure, and through believing in his inner power to back him up, he banished all fear thoughts and all depressions. Believe in yourself, and you will succeed and be happy. Next point is the happiest people. The happiest man is he who constantly brings forth and practices what is best in him. Happiness and virtue complement each other. The best are not only the happiest, but the happiest are usually the best in the art of living life successful. God is the highest and best in you. Express more of God's love, light, truth, and beauty, and you will become one of the happiest persons in the world today. Epictetus, the Greek Stoic philosopher, said, there is but one way to tranquility of mind and happiness. Let this therefore be always ready at hand with thee, both when you wakest early in the morning and all the day long, and when you goest late to sleep, to account to external things you want, but your own. But commit all this to God. Today's next chapter is Your Subconscious Mind and Harmonious Human Relations. In studying this book, you learn that your subconscious mind is a recording machine which faithfully reproduces whatever you impress upon it. This is one of the reasons for the application of the golden rule in human relations. All things whatsoever ye would then that men should do unto you do ye even so to them. This quotation has outer and inner meanings. You are interested in its inner meaning from the standpoint of your subconscious mind, which is as you would that men should think about you. Think you about them in like manners, as you would that men should feel about you. Feel you also about them in like manners, as you would want men to act toward you. Act you toward them in like manner. For example, you may be polite and courteous to someone in your office, but when his back is turned, you are very critical and resentful toward him in your mind. Such negative thoughts are highly destructive to you. It is like taking poison. You are actually taking mental poisons which rob you of vitality, enthusiasm, strength, guidance, and goodwill. These negative thoughts and emotions sink down into your subconscious and cause all kinds of difficulties and maladies in your life. Next point is the master key to happy relationship with others. Judge not that ye be not judge. For with what judgment a judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye met, it shall be measured to you again. A study of these verses and the application of the inner truths therein contained represent the real key to harmonious relations. To judge is to think, to arrive at a mental verdict or conclusion in your mind. The thought you have about the other person is your thought because you are thinking it. Your thoughts are creative, therefore, you actually create in your own experience what you think and feel about the other person. It is also true that the suggestion you give to another, you give to yourself because your mind is the creative medium. This is why it is said, for with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. When you know this law and the way your subconscious mind works, you are careful to think feel, and act rights toward the others. These verses teach you about the emancipation of man and reveals to you the solution to your individual problems. Next point is, and with what measure you met, it shall be measured to you again. The good you do for others come back to you in like measure, and the evil you do returns to you by the law of your own mind. If a man cheats and deceives another, he is actually cheating and deceiving himself. His sense of guilty and mood of loss inevitably will all attract loss to him in some way. At some time, his subconscious records his mental act and reacts according to the mental intention or motivations. Your subconscious mind is impersonal and unchanging, neither considering person nor respecting religious affiliation or institutions of any kinds. It is neither compassionate nor vindictive. The way you think, feel, and act toward others returns at last upon yourself. Next point is, the daily headlines made him sick. Begin now to observe yourself, observe your reaction to people, conditions, and circumstances. How do you respond to the events and news of the days? It makes no difference if all the other people were wrong and you alone were right. If the news disturb you, it is your evil because your negative emotions rob you of peace and harmony. A woman wrote me about her husband, saying that he goes into a rage when he reads what certain newspapers columnists write in the newspaper. She added that this constant reaction of anger and suppressed rage on his part brought on bleeding ulcer, and his physician recommended an emotional reconditioning. I invited this man to see me and I explained to him the way his mind functioned, indicating how emotionally immature it was to get angry when others write articles with which he disapproves or disagrees. He began to realize that he should give the newspaperman freedom to express himself even though the latter disagreed with him politically, religiously, or in any other way. In the same manner, the newspaperman would give him freedom to write a letter to the newspaper disagreeing with his published statements. He learned that he could disagree without being disagreeable. He awakened to the simple truth that it is never what a person says or said thus that affects him. It is his reaction to what is said or done that matters. This explanation was the cure for this man, and he realized that with a little practice he could master his morning tantrums. His wife told me subsequently that he lodged at himself and also at what the columnists say. They no longer have power to disturb, annoy, and irritate him. His anger have disappeared due to his emotional poise and serenity. Next point is, I have women, but I like men. My private secretary was very bitter toward some of the girls in her office because they was gossiping about her. And as she says, spreading vicious lies about her. She admitted that she did not like women. She said, I hate women, but I like men. I discovered also that she spoke to the girls who were under her in the office in a very haughty, imperious, and irritable tone of voice. She pointed out that they took a delight in making things difficult for her. There was a certain pomposity in her way of speaking, and I could see where her tone of voice would affect some people unpleasantly. If all the people in the office or factory annoyed, you. Isn't it a possibility that the vibration, annoyance, and turmoil may be due to some subconscious pattern or mental projection from you? We know that a dog will react ferociously if you hate or fear dogs. Animals pick up your subconscious vibration and react accordingly. Many undisciplined human beings are just as sensitive as dogs, cats, and other animals. I suggest a process of prayer to this private secretary created woman, explaining to her that when she began to identify herself with spiritual values and comments to affirm the truth of life. Her voice, mannerism, and hatred of women would completely disappear. She was surprised to know that the emotion of hatred show up in a person's speech, actions, in the writing, and in all phases of his life. She ceases reacting in the typical resentful and angry way. She established a pattern of prayer, which she practiced regularly, systematically, and consciously in the office. The prayer was as follows: I think, speak, and act lovingly, quietly, and peacefully. I now radiate love, peace, tolerance, and kindliness to all the girls who criticize me and gossip about me. I anchor my thoughts on peace, harmony, and goodwill to all. Whenever I am about to react negatively, I say firmly to myself, I am going to think, speak, and act from the standpoints of the principle of harmony, health, and peace within myself. Creative intelligence leads, rules, and guides me in all my ways. The practice of this prayer transformed her life, and she found that all criticism and annoyance cease. The girls become co-workers. And friends along life's journey. She discovered that there is no one of the change but myself. Next point is his inner speech held back his promotion. One day a salesman came to see me and described his difficulties in working with the sales manager of his organization. He had been with the company 10 years and had received no promotion or recognized of any kind. He showed me his sales figures, which were greater proportionately than the other men in the territory. He said that the sales manager did not like him, that he was unjustly treated as that at conference the manager was rude to him and at times ridiculed his suggestions. I explained that undoubtedly the cause was to a great degree within himself, and that his concept and belief about his surprise bore witness to the reaction of this man. The measure we met shall be measured to us again. His mental measure or concept of the sales manager was that he was mean and contemptuous. He was filled with bitterness and hostility toward the executive. On his way to work, we conducted a vigorous conversation with himself filled with criticism, mental arguments, recriminations, and denunciations of his sales managers. What he gave out mentally, he was inevitably bound to get back. This salesman realized that his inner speech was highly destructive because the intensity and force of his silent thoughts and emotions and personality conducted mental condemnation and vilifications of the sales manager entered into his own subconscious mind. This brought about the negative response from his boss as well as creating many other personal, physical, and emotional disorders. He began to pray frequently as follows: I am the only thinker in my universe. I am responsible for what I think about my boss. My sales manager is not responsible for the way I think about him. I refuse to give power to anyone, place, or thing to anyone may or disturb me. I wish health, success, peace of mind, and happiness for my boss. I sincerely wish him well, and I know he is divinely guided in all his ways. He repeated this prayer out loud, slowly, quietly, and feelingly, knowing that his mind is like a garden, and that whatever he plants in the garden will comfort like seeds after their kinds. I also taught I also taught him to practice mental imagery prior to sleep in this way. He imagined that his sales manager was congratulating him on his fine works, on his zeal and enthusiasm, and on his wonderful response from customers. He felt the reality of all this, felt his handshake, heard the tone of his voice, and saw him smile. He made a real mental movie, dramatizing it to the best of his ability. Night after night, night, he conducted this mental movie, knowing that his subconscious mind was the receptive plate on which his conscious imagery would be impressed. Gradually, by a process of what may be termed mental and spiritual osmosis, the impressions was made on his subconscious mind, and the expression automatically come from forth. The sales manager subsequently called him up to San Francisco, congratulated him, and gave him a new assignment as Divine Division Sales Manager over 100 men with a big increase in salary. He changed his concept and estimate of his boss, and the latter responded accordingly. Next point is becoming emotionally mature. What the other person says or does cannot really anyone or irritated you accept you permit him to disturb you. The only way he can annoy you is through your own thoughts. For example, if you get angry, you have to go through four stages in your mind. You begin to think about what is said. You decide to get angry and generate an emotion of rage. Then you decide to act. Perhaps you talk back and react in kind. You see that the thought, emotion, reaction, and action all takes place in your mind. When you become emotionally mature, you do not respond negatively to the criticism and resentment of others. To do so would mean that you had descended to that state of low mental vibration and becomes one with the negative atmosphere of the others. Identify yourself with your aim in life and do not permit any person, place, or things to deflect you from your inner sense of peace, tranquility, and radiant health. Next point is the meaning of love in harmonious human relations. Sigmund Freud, the Australian founder of psychoanalysis, said that unless the personality has love, it sickness and dies. Love includes undertaking goodwill and respect for the divinely in the other person. The more love and goodwill you emit and exert, the more comes back to you. If you puncture the other fellow's ego and wound his estimate of himself, you cannot gain his goodwill. Recognize that every man wants to be loved and appreciated and made to feel important in the world. Realize that the other man is conscious of his true worth and that, like yourself, he feels the dignity of beings, an expression of the one life principle animating all men. As you do this consciously and knowingly, you build the other person up and he returns your love and goodwill. Next point is he hated audiences. An actor told me that the audience booed and hissed him on his first appearance on the stage. He added that the play was badly written and that undoubtedly did not play a good role. He admitted openly to me that for months afterward he hated audiences. He called them drops, dummies, stupid, ignorant, gullible, etc. He quit the stage in disgust and went to work in a drugstore for a year. One day, a friend invited him to bear a lecture in Town Hall, New York City, on how to get along with ourselves. This lecture changed his life. He went back to the stage and began to pray sincerely for the audience and himself. He pours out love and goodwill every night before appearing on the stage. He made it a habit to claim that the peace of God filled the hearts of all present, and that all present were lifted up and inspired. During each performance, he sent out love vibrations to the audiences. Today, he is a great actor, and he loves and respects people. His goodwill and esteem are transmitted to others and are felt by them. Next point is handling difficult peoples. There are difficult peoples in the world who are twisted and distorted mentally. They are conditioned. Many are mental delinquent, argumentative, uncooperative, connectarious, cynical, and sure on life. They are sick psychologically. Many people have deformed and distorted minds, probably raped during childhood. Many have conjunctival deformities. You would not condemn a person who have had tuberculosis, nor should you condemn a person who is mentally ill. No one, for example, had so recent of hunchback. There are many mental hunchbacks. You should have compensation and understanding. To understand all is to forgive all. Next point is mis- misery loves company. The hateful, frustrated, dis- distorted, and twisted personality is out of tune with the infinite. He resents those who are peaceful, happy, and joyous. Usually, he criticizes, condemns, and vilifies those who have been very good and kind to him. His attitude is this: why should they be so happy when he is so miserable? He wants to drag them down to his own level. Misery loves company. When you understand this, you remain unmoved, calm, and dispassionate. Next point is the practice of empathy in human relations. A girl visited me recently, stating that she hated another girl in her office. She gave as her reason that the other girl was prettier, happier, and wealthier than she, and in addition was engaged to the laws of a boss of the company where they worked. One day after the marriage had taken place, the crippled daughter of the woman whom she had come into the office. The child put her arms around her mother and said, "Mommy, Mommy, I love my new daddy. Look what he gave me." She showed her mother a wonderful new toy. She said to me, "My heart went out to that little girl, and I knew how happy she must feel." I got a vision of how happy this woman was. All of a sudden, I felt love for her, and I went into the office and wished her all the happiness in the world, and I meant it. In psychological circles, today this is called empathy, which simply means the imaginative projection of your mental attitude into that of another's. She projected her mental mood or the feeling of her heart into that of the other woman's and begins to think and look out through the other woman's brain. She was actually thinking and feeling as the other woman's and also as the child because she likewise had projected herself into the mind of the child. She was looking out from that vantage point on the child's mother. If tempted to injure or think ill of another, project yourself mentally into the mind of Moses and think from the subsequent standpoints of the Ten Commandments. If you are prone to be envious, jealous, or angry, project yourself into the mind of Jesus and think from that standpoint, and you will feel the truth of the words love one another. Next point is appeasement never never wins. Do not permit people to take advantage of you and gain their point by tantrums, crying jacks, or so-called heart attack. These people are dictator, dictators who try to enslave you and make you do their biddings. Be firm but kind and refuse to yield. Appeasement never wins. Refuse to contribute to their delinquents, selfishness, and possessiveness. Remember, do that which is right. You are here to fulfill your ideal and remain true to the eternal virtues in spiritual values of life, which are eternal. Give no one in all the world the power to deflect you from your goal, your aim in life, which is to express your hidden talents to the world, to serve humanity, and to reveal more and more of God's wisdom, truth, and beauty to all peoples in the world. Remain true to your ideal, know definitely and absolutely that whatever contributes to your peace, happiness, and fulfillment must of necessarily blaze of when men will walk the earth. The harmony of the part is the harmony of this wall. For the wall is in the part, and the part is in the wall. All you owe the other. As Paul says, is love, and love is the fulfilling of the law of health, happiness, and peace of mind. Today, next chapter is was how to use your subconscious mind for forgiveness. Life plays no favorites. God is life, and this life principle is following through you these moments. God loves to express Himself as harmony, peace, beauty, joy, and abundance through you. This is called the will of God or the tendency of life. If you set up resistance in your mind to the flow of life through you, these emotional conjunctions will get channeled up in your subconscious mind and cause all kinds of negative conditions. God has nothing to do with unhappy or chaotic conditions in the world. Man's negative and destructive thinking brings about all these conditions. Therefore, it is silly to blame God for your trouble or sickness. Many persons habitually set up mental resistance to the flow of life by excusing and reproaching reproaching God for the sin, sickness, and suffering of mankind. Others cast the blame on God for their pains, aches, and loss of loved ones, personal tragedies, and accidents. They are angry at God, and they believe He is responsible for their misery. As long as people entertain such negative concept about God, they will experience the automatic negative reaction from their subconscious minds. Actually, such people do not know that they are punishing themselves. They must see the truth, find release, and give up all condemnation, resentment, and anger against anyone or any power outside themselves. Otherwise, They cannot go forward into a healthy, happy, or creative activity. The minutes their people entertain a God of love in their minds and hearted, and when they believe that God is there. Loving Father who watches over them, cares for them, guides them, sustains and strengthens them. This concept and belief about God or the life principle will be accepted by their subconscious mind, and they will find themselves blessed in countless ways. Next point is life always forgives you. Life forgives you when you cut your finger. The subconscious intelligence within you sets about immediately to repair it. New cells build bridges over the cut. Should you take some tainted food by error, life forgives you and causes you to regretted it in order to preserve you. If you burn your hand, the life principle reduces the adhesion and congestion and gives you new skin, tissue, and cells. Life holds no grudge against you, and it is always forgives you. Life brings you back to health, vitality, harmony, and peace. If you cooperate by thinking in harmony with nature, negative, hurtful memories, bitterness, and ill will culture up and impede the free flow of the life principle in you. Next point is, have you banished that feeling of guilt? I knew a man who worked every night until about 1 o'clock in the morning. He paid no attention to his 2 boys or his wife. He was always too busy working hard. He thought people should pat him on the back because he was working so arduously, arduously and persistently past midnight every night. He had a blood pressure of over 200 and was full of guilt. Unconsciously, he proceeded to punish himself by hard work, and he completely ignored his children. A normal man does not do that. He is interested in his boys and in their development. He does not shut his wife out of his world. I explained to him why he was working so arduously. There is something eating you inside, otherwise, you would not act this way. You are punishing yourself, and you have to learn to forgive yourself. He did have a deep sense of guilt. It was toward brother. I explained to him that God was not punishing him, but that he was punishing himself. For example, if you misuse the laws of life, you will suffer accordingly. If you put your hands on a neck charge wire, you will get burned. The forces of nature are not evil. It is your use of them that determines whether they have a good or evil effect. Electricity is not evil. It depends on how you use it, whether to burn down a structure or light up a home. The only sin in is ignorance of the law, and the only punishment is the automatic reaction of man's misuse of the law. If you misuse the principle of chemistry, you may blow up the office or the factory. If you strike your hands on a board, you may cause your hand to bleed. The board is not for that purpose. Its purpose may be to learn upon or to support your feet. This man realized that God does not condemn or punish anyone, and that all his suffering was due to reaction of his subconscious mind to his own negative and destructive thinking. He had cheated his brother at one time, and the brother had now passed on. Still, he was full of remorse and guilt. I asked him, would you cheat your brother now? He said, no. Did you feel you were justified at the time? His reply was, yes. But you would not to do it now? He added, no, I am helping others to know how to live. I adding the following comments. You have a greater reason and understanding now. Forgiveness is to forgive yourself. Forgiveness is getting your thoughts in line within the divine law of harmony. Self condemnation is called hell. Forgiveness is called heaven. The burden of guilt and self condemnation was lifted from his mind, and he had a complete healing. The doctor tested his blood pressure, and it has become normal. The explanation was this cure. Thank you.